Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 34th episode of Crime Over Wine, the only podcast with head-scratching true crime stories that are just better over a bottle of wine. I'm your host, Liam Collins, and I have an extra special guest co-host this week. She is a total Tennessee girly through and through and a news reporter right here in Chattanooga, Tennessee. My guest co-host this week is Jeremiah Beatty. Hello, Jeremiah.
Woo! Hello.
I am so excited that you're here, and I'm so excited, and I know that you're so excited too. So I am so glad to just have you here and be drinking wine, talking about crime, doing the whole thing. So we've been talking about this for a long time.
And can I just say, I'm so proud of you. I remember when this was just a dream in your head, a thought, and just to see it all. I'm so proud of you. I have to say that.
Oh, well, thank you so much. That means so much coming from you. So thank you so much for that. I'm going to cry. Let's move on before I cry. So Jeremiah and I first met at a news station right here in Chattanooga, but she is a Nashville girl 100%. You know that's true. But
615.
She is an extra special guest this week because she was actually she was just kind of referring to there, the very first person besides myself to ever hear an episode of Crime Over Wine. I beta tested my very first episode. That's the Ray Rivera case. Go and check that out with her when I was just trying to figure out how everything was sounding and how everything was coming out, and really just honestly building up the courage to put that first episode out into the world. And so it's really special to have you on for this week for that reason, Jeremiah.
I'm so excited. I remember that moment. It was a lot of fun, and I knew it was going to take off. I knew then. I know now.
Well, thank you. All right. Well, we need wine to talk about this because otherwise I'm going to start crying. So, and I know Jeremiah's ready because literally moments before we hit record, she was like, "Is it time to pour yet?" So let's get going on that. So this week we are drinking Pavette's Sauvignon Blanc. It's a racy white, as it's described, focused and fresh with citrus blossom, lychee, and stone fruit notes. A thirst and taste quencher, perfect for sunny days and lighter fare. Ooh, that sounds fun. So this is kind of, and before I even pop it open, whenever I think of the flavors that we're talking about here, I think of a very light wine, right? Very easy on the mouth.
On the tongue,
easy on the tongue for sure. And so, because this is giving a summer wine, and we're in the middle of August when we're recording this, so I'm ready for this one.
And guys out there, 13% of alcohol. Okay, I'm all for the high percentage.
Leave it to Jeremiah to immedially know how much alcohol
it smells really good though.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, so
I just popped it open. Yeah, let's pour.
Pouring. I'm gonna keep it short and cute. We don't want to get too wild on here.
Not yet, anyways. All right. Well, cheers to you, Jeremiah.
Cheers.
Thank you so much for coming on. Cheers. Very light.
Okay, that's not bad.
No, I'm into that.
Bad.
So Jeremiah and I could not have different palates here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Jeremiah is sweet. And when I say sweet, she wants it as sweet as possible.
Exactly.
And so listen, nothing wrong with that. At all, right? Everyone has different palates and all that jazz. So I'm wondering, I want to hear your overall thoughts first off, because everyone hears me every week. So.
I wouldn't say this is dry at all. It's definitely sweet. It smells so good. The taste is amazing. Oh my gosh, it's great.
That's really funny because I am tasting this and I'm this is a pretty dry Sauvignon Blanc. So
really,
yeah. So maybe she likes dry whites, y'all.
Maybe
she's coming over to the dry side.
It's not too bad. But maybe because my heart is getting a little cold, but we'll get into that later.
We need to thaw you out with some summer wine.
Yeah, it feels
We need to thaw you with some summer wine.
See, I got to slow down right now. I can already feel the effects. Let me stop.
Yes, let's pause. Oh, we've got a whole story to get through. So let's get there before Jeremiah gets drunk for sure. So,
honey, this tastes good. I'm he was talking about it's kind of dry. I'm like, no, it's not.
Well, let's get to the story then, Jeremiah, on that note, because the case I'm going to tell you about today is actually one that you first told me about, Jeremiah, and you've been asking me to go over this case with you with a fine-tooth comb ever since. And so I'm really excited to be able to do that with you today.
Yes, I'm so excited and thankful that you actually decided to dive into this one, because it was really exciting to watch. Well, sad, but
right. Well, but still, but because then the reason, Jeremiah brought this to my attention, and she was saying that, because the girl that we're about to tell you about is like our age, right? And so
Right.
when this all happened, she was 19 years old. Like, we were both in college.
Yep.
And so you were telling me all about how you were like watching this
Day
whole
by
thing
day
kind of play out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like you saw a lot of yourself in her too.
Yep. Because I mean, you're in college, you go to party.
Right.
She was me. And it just, you guys will see. It's so crazy.
Well, let's get into it then. So it's a story about a young girl whose life comes to a tragic ending like way too soon. And when she suddenly goes missing during a weekend out with friends, her disappearance sparks a widespread search and a chain of events that some say do not have a conclusive ending. This week, I want to tell you about Kenneka Jenkins and Chicago's hotel party. Kenneka Jenkins was born on May 27th, 1998, so she would be just about our age today, Jeremiah. Her friends and family describe her as smart and responsible, and you really get that feeling from her from the pictures you see of her. She had this bright, vibrant smile with these big, brilliant white teeth, and clearly loved taking selfies like most teenage girls do, right? In September of 2017, Kenneka is just 19 years old, and her mother, Teresa, had recently gotten really sick. She had just been diagnosed with breast cancer and had just recently underwent an intensive surgery as a result of that diagnosis. And so Kenneka assumed the role of caretaker while her mother recovered. On September 8th, Kenneka told her mom that she was going to go out with two friends to celebrate Kenneka recently having landed a job at a nursing home. They were going bowling and then were going to a movie, and Kenneka's mom was like so fine with it all. She even let the girls borrow her car. So they all left the home around 11, which to me feels like a little bit of a red flag right off the bat, because that she's possibly lying to mom, because again, what bowling alley is open that late and what movie theater has showings that late either.
And you know something, Liam, I never realized, I didn't know that context you just provided here, that her mom was sick. I didn't know that, and I just feel so bad for the mom now. But what can you do? What can you do? Her daughter was a teen and she wanted to sneak out.
And that's just you can have it both ways, right? Like, you can be like a very dedicated daughter, but then also just want to go out and like blow off some steam with her friends at night. Like, there's nothing wrong with that.
Let your hair down. I believe in that. And she knew, I mean, she was anticipating how it ended, so.
Right, exactly. Well, if Teresa knew that Kenneka was fibbing to her or not, it was indeed a lie. The girls had no intention of going bowling. Instead, they were going to a party that their friends were having at a hotel room at the Crown Plaza Hotel in Rosemont, Illinois, which wasn't too far from where Kenneka and her mom lived in Chicago proper. Security camera video shows Kenneka and the friends entering the hotel from a side entrance at about 1 a.m. The friends head up to room 926, which is where the party is happening. Ultimately, at least 36 people ended up showing up to the party, and police said more than half of them were not of legal drinking age, including Kenneka, and some of them may have even been under the age of 18. And it's at this point that Kenneka starts to learn some things about the party that she doesn't really like. For starters, there are a lot of older men at the party. Like, not like super old, like we're not talking about like old men, but old enough that they were, really, not, it wasn't really appropriate for them to be hanging around a 19-year-old girl and, possibly kids even younger than that.
So what I'll say to this part, those scary movies where it's like you enter a building, I can't remember the movie, but you enter a building and you never leave. And it's just unfortunate here, but also a lot of people at this point were questioning her friends. But I just, who they knew, I mean, they were just young girls going out having fun, but weren't really using their heads this night.
Yeah. Yeah, and it does, and like we're gonna get into all this at some point, I'm sure. But the friends were clearly very comfortable with these men, and so kind of what you're alluding to here is like, how do they know these people?
And it's like the gut. Maybe Kenneka at this point there was that gut feeling, maybe like, okay, they're a little older, but
but point being though, like we've all been there too, right? Where it's like, you know, like maybe this wasn't really the best idea. We've all had that feeling. We know what feeling, you know, Kenneka is feeling at this point of like, you know, like I didn't know that these guys were going to be here. Like they didn't tell me that. And so but what do you do? Like you're trapped there, like, you know, probably a little bit of peer pressure at that point too. So yeah. So, you know, that wasn't all either, though. Kenneka at some point finds out that the guys hosting this party weren't exactly like the most stand-up dudes, you know, besides the fact that they were hanging around like teenage girls. She finds out that the hotel room was bought using a stolen credit card.
Okay, see, now I didn't even know that detail, but wow, okay.
Yeah.
It just keeps getting worse. I can only imagine what her heart felt like. And let me just say, this wine, I'm starting to feel a little buzz.
Already.
Starting to feel a little buzz.
Girlfriend. We are like, slow your roll here. We are on page 3.
I'm going to set down the glass.
No, keep going. No judgment. Do whatever you need to do. Well, you know, that is obviously a bit of a red flag, of course, you know, just like anybody would be feeling at this point. But Kenneka and her friends stay at the party and have a pretty good time together. The party does at times get a bit out of hand, as you can imagine, and hotel staff later tell police that they got at least one noise complaint about the party. Throughout the party, Kenneka's friends start jumping on Facebook Live, broadcasting their actions online. Kenneka's friends are mainly featured in the videos, but Kenneka makes some cameos in them too. In one of the videos, Kenneka's friend is there swaying, smoking something, singing along to the music, and talking to friends on the phone, giving them directions on how to get into the parking lot and how to get to the hotel room. And the backdrop of that video is discovered by some online sleuths who post some enhanced versions of this video. It's thought that Kenneka may have been heard in the background crying out for help. But in the rest of the context of this video, everyone else is in the room just continuing to smoke, you know, sing, going about their usual business as though nothing is happening. And so very weird scene there for sure.
I briefly kind of remember this. I just remember there was a lot of controversy because, I mean, me and my friends were in college at this point, clicking in CNN, NBC News, following on what's going on. But that video, I remember, was just on everyone's Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat. Yeah. I mean, it was going like crazy. So
it's later released, though, that, you know, what was thought to be Kenneka crying out for help in the backdrop of this video was actually just the lyrics of the song that they were listening to at the time, which would explain why, you know, no one really seemed to be all that concerned at the time anyways.
Yeah, okay. See? Yeah. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, there you go. Well, in another live video, though, as described by multiple news outlets, Kenneka appeared to be really unhappy. Appearing to be getting more and more intoxicated, Kenneka had been expressing some frustration about the older men at the party who had been aggressively flirting with Kenneka. Kenneka was clearly not interested, and yet they were being very persistent and not taking the hint. And she kept telling them that, but they were not leaving her alone.
And see, that makes me wonder, Liam, why she kept drinking. Like, if she, there had to be, I'm sorry, if I'm at a party and I feel uncomfortable, I'm not going to continue drinking, you know?
Yeah. Well, but also too, like where my brain goes, and we're going to talk about this like much later on, so definitely hold this thought for sure. But like it makes me wonder like how much she was actually drinking. Like, you know, I mean, like you know, in these this type of sketchy situation, like I don't put it past any of these guys to like slip something in a drink.
Yeah, and that's very true.
Right? So
yeah.
So like maybe she did stop drinking is the point. Like or maybe she had already drank so much, you know, by her own free will. So
and then think about her friends. Are they really friends? As many times she's like, "Hey guys, I'm really concerned."
Sure.
No one's listening.
Yeah, and like a little PSA here, right? And like, and Jeremiah and I can definitely talk about this, right? Like, I feel like anybody listening to this, who could potentially end up in a situation, where you're just not comfortable. Like surround yourself. Like, if you're gonna put yourself in these types of situations, like whether just at a casual bar, like wherever, like surround yourself by people who are going to be looking out for your, like looking out for you. Because you're drinking, like you're putting yourself into vulnerable situations. Like,
never put yourself in a situation to be taken advantage of and where you can't be in control. And so make sure you are surrounded by people that can keep you safe and likewise.
Yeah. Well, and even if it's not like this kind of environment, right? Like even if it's just like a casual night out, like you never know, right? Like you never know when you can have too much to drink and like, don't really have the opportunity to like, to get a ride home, right? Yeah. So you just want to have people who are going to make sure that you're making the best decisions, make sure they're looking out for your safety. Like that, like if you don't learn anything else from this episode of this podcast, like learn that, please.
Yes. Amen to that.
Yes. So at 1:30 that morning, Kenneka sent her last text message. It was to her sister, and I never saw like what that text message was or even if it was anything significant, but I do have to imagine that if it was actually significant to this investigation, then that would have been publicized as part of that investigation. So I kind of discount that a little bit. About an hour and a half later, the girls left the party, and there are some conflicting reports about what happens next. But basically, the girls exit the room and either get a bit down the hallway or get all the way down to the lobby of the hotel when Kenneka tells her friends that she had left like all of her belongings inside of the hotel room, including her car keys and her cell phone. Well, Kenneka's friends tell her to stay put and that they were going to go back to the room and get her belongings for her. They were gone for about 10 to 20 minutes, according to them, and when they returned, Kenneka was not where they left her. When Kenneka's friends returned, Kenneka was nowhere to be found. They searched all around the hotel for her, and after about an hour, they decide they're worried, and they decide that they need to call her mom to tell her what is happening.
But, I mean, in this moment, they did the right thing. They called her mother to alert the mom what's going on. But I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. And you guys know my history with this story. It's just, how do you lose your close friend? That's all I gotta say.
Right. Well, and I don't get so a couple thoughts went into my head, right, when I read that they left her in the lobby to go back to to get the car keys and the phone. Like, at this point, I had already like understood that like there were some guys that like weren't, treating her right. So maybe like it was just like, you stay right here. We'll go back. That's a good friend, right? If you're just like, we don't want to.
Benefit of the doubt. I like that, Liam.
We don't want to put you back into that room and back into that situation. Like, we'll just go back and do it for you. But where my brain also goes of like, these are probably not the greatest friends of. Like, you probably can tell that that Kenneka's drunk at this point. Like, Kenneka's like not of a good mindset, and so leaving her be probably not the best choice.
And
at this point.
Friend,
but
just to ask, no friend stayed behind with Kenneka while the other girls went up? She was just alone.
She was just alone, and there were, I believe and there's like, again, conflicting reports. Like, I read that there were anywhere from like 2 to 4 friends with them at various points in the night. I believe at this point there were at least 3.
And can I just say this to all my friends out there and future friends? I would never put you in this position. I just want to say that.
Good. I don't know. I don't know. I also like put myself into their shoes of like, they were probably drunk too. Like, they were probably they probably weren't of a good mindset either. Weren't thinking straight. And so that I have to factor that into all that too. But again, we go back to like, make sure you are around people that drunk or sober, are going to make the right decisions for you. And we're about to find out why that's so important. So let's get there, right? So somewhere between 4 and 4:30 in the morning, the friends call Kenneka's mom to ask if, she had went home without them. And when she says no, they tell Teresa that Kenneka is missing. They can't find her. So Teresa tells them to come get her so she can drive back to the hotel to search for Kenneka herself. Because remember, they borrowed Teresa's car. When the friends arrive, Teresa can tell that the friends were heavily intoxicated. And when she asked them what happened, she just does not feel good about their story. Kenneka's friends tell Teresa that Kenneka had only had, quote, 1 cup to drink that night. And Teresa tells them that even 1 cup was too much for her. She was, not only underage, of course, but she knew that she had some medical conditions that caused her not to process alcohol all that well. So, again, feeling the effects much more than someone with, without those medical conditions.
And see, I never knew that either. I like how you were putting yourself in their shoes, the friend's shoes. If they were as heavily intoxicated, the mom could notice that they weren't clearly in their right mind. But at the same time, I feel uneasy even about how they're going out of their way to contact. It's almost like they're kind of covering their tracks a little bit to me. Yeah. But maybe I'm looking too deep into it. I don't know.
No, it's possible. Well, but you see that all the time in these kind of investigations, right? Where it's like, it's you call police, right? Like you try to, be that person at the front and center of everything. So that way, when people are looking for suspects, like, you don't look at that. You don't look at the people who, appeared to have done the right thing, right? And not saying that this is, necessarily this case or not this case, right? But I mean, it's not a bad assumption to go to at all. So, but then also too, like, this whole 1 cup thing, like, drives me nuts, because it's like, what the fuck does that mean? First of all, like, 1 cup of what? Like, it could have been like a whole freaking cup of like a vodka, and then like, boof, like,
Yeah. Now, if we're talking about solo cups,
right?
Solo cups can get you screwed up depending on.
Well,
the
but
liquor.
like a cup could have been a solo cup. It could have been like, a mouthwash cup. It could have been a freaking cup of that's this big. That's the size of a wine bottle. Yeah.
I think it was a solo cup. Now, depending on what was in there,
right.
That's enough to mess anybody up. That's all I can say.
And I think back to like when I was in college, right? And like you have the bucket, and you like, Lord knows what you were dipping that cup into, and so like who knows what you're drinking, and so that answer just does not like feels very immature to me. So
yeah. But again, these girls were babies, so
right.
What do you expect?
Exactly. Yeah, and I'm like wondering if they knew that she had medical conditions. Like, I wouldn't really be telling my friends that. Certainly, if I was like drinking when I probably shouldn't be. So
the mom never revealed what. I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter. It's
just... I mean, I saw like some like mentions of this. Like, it really is kind of irrelevant, and it's conflicting, and so I didn't really put that in there. So but Kenneka's friends tell her the entire story about the hotel party, the alcohol, the older men, and how she forgot her keys and her phone, and how they went to go back to get them for her. But again, her friends are clearly intoxicated and possibly under the influence of other substances too. And so Teresa doesn't really know what to make of anything they are telling her. So when they get to the hotel, Teresa decides to go right to the people who should have been the adults in the room. She goes to the hotel staff to ask about Kenneka, and she asks if she could see security camera video from the hotel so that she could try and track down her daughter herself. But hotel staff tell her that she can't see security camera video. Only police can, and only after Kenneka is reported missing to police.
Proper protocol, yeah. And
sure.
And let me just say, I used to work in a hotel, and people love to quickly
blame. I didn't know that about you.
Yes, 2 years I worked at as a receptionist at a hotel, and it's very easy for hotel staffers to get blamed, especially in this. So I would say they have no clue past once they hand that key over, and once they go up those stairs, they have no clue what's going on.
And like adding on to that too, like they also have like a certain level of responsibility here to like their other guests, right? Because they can't just let like some stranger view the security camera video. Like other guests have like an expectation of privacy. And so that, I know it's like a little infuriating like on a surface level, but like when you think about it that way, like, do you want like some lady who like claims that her daughter was at this hotel, like just watching your every move, so.
And something else too, you just said we're talking about wee hours of the morning as well, right? So it's what, 4 in the morning,
right?
And then you even said earlier her friends were sneaking in on the side of, like they weren't coming in probably the main entrance. So those staffers, great point, to go to them, but they know little. They probably didn't know a lot, but I can only feel for the mom at this moment. Like, oh my gosh.
Right, yeah, and like going back to that, right? Of like, like we're talking about like a mom who's like who is in mama bear
Frantic.
mode. Like
Yeah.
I don't blame her for being like, I want to see that video and I want to see it now, right? Like
Yeah.
I don't blame her for that necessarily, but I also, I mean, you can only do so much.
Liam, before we get in this, I gotta pour up.
Go for it, girly. Go for it. Pause.
Pause. There we go.
There's the sound of that. Resume. Well, Teresa is not one who is necessarily going to take no for an answer, though. She starts going door to door throughout the hotel, knocking to ask anyone if anyone has seen her daughter.
As she should.
As she should. The hotel gets some complaints about this, however, and ends up calling police to report this. Around 7 that morning, Teresa calls the Rosemont Police Department to report her missing. The dispatcher initially tells her that it's likely that the friends are lying, like kind of what Jeremiah and I are thinking, and that Kenneka is likely passed out somewhere, and that the best thing that she could do right now is go home and wait to see if her daughter would come home eventually.
Oh, the story just keeps getting worse and worse, and not a full day has passed yet, because I just remember, I can't remember how long it took, but I think this is when the mom was just going kind of outrageous with as she should, rightfully so. Her daughter's missing, taking it, I think she reported to media outlets, and this is when we're like, oh my gosh, she's at a party, like every mother in America saw their daughter right here, right now.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, and let's recap too. So it's a Friday night, right? That's when Kenneka goes out with friends around 11. And then Saturday morning, 1:00, that's when they're seen going into the hotel. 4:00 is when the friends go tell Teresa, that Kenneka, they can't find Kenneka, and then so now we're all the way back up to 7:00 that morning. So it's been 8 hours, and that Teresa's finally able to report her missing, which frankly is miraculous compared to some of the cases that we've covered on this case, because sometimes it's been a week and police still won't take a report. God knows why, but different podcast, different story probably. And in this case though, police do end up taking a missing persons report right away about Kenneka and begin investigating later that afternoon. They get more cooperation from the hotel than Teresa did. They do report to them the contents of some security camera video, but they don't actually show the video to the police officers. The staff says that they found nothing that showed Kenneka anywhere on video, and that they did everything that they could to find it.
Okay, so at this moment, I think the hotel, working in news, this is bad publicity for the hotel. So I think right now they're just, it still doesn't negate the fact that they're holding away facts, but
I mean, and again, like putting it like, because the hotel looks real bad throughout this whole entire story. So let me just say, like, from their perspective, like, again, they have a legal responsibility that they have to uphold, right? Like they can't just be given stuff out left and right just because, like, again, somebody says that some girl was in their hotel. They have no record of her being there because
she's not on record.
She's not a guest, right? And so it's so from their perspective, right? It's like they have to maintain a certain level of responsibility and privacy. Like I think of Pretty Woman, right? Like when people were snooping around about Julia Roberts' character, and the hotel staff were like, nope, we're just gonna keep this above board kind of thing. Like we're not gonna we can't just be spreading stuff around. It's the same concept. Other guests have a certain level of responsibility. If you just let police see whatever just because because they claim something is happening here, because one person claims something is happening here, they can't just be doing that. And so I know it's a fine line, but it's a line still.
Yeah. And I guess when we get later in the story, I have some more to talk about with the hotel. I just can't say right now. So tight-lipped.
Let's get to that then, because I can't wait to hear what you have to say about that. Well, police end up searching every floor of the hotel, even returning to the room where the party was held, but at that point, everyone had cleared out, of course. The police ends up searching the surrounding area of the hotel, and in all, they found absolutely nothing that brought them any closer to finding Kenneka. So after several hours of searching through town, they decide that they are going back to the hotel staff to ask them about the video again. and this time they want to see it for themselves.
Hello, Crime Over Wine listeners. I am Rachel.
And I'm Heather.
We are the hosts of Like Mother, Like Murder.
We bring you the good, the badass, and the crime.
Each week, we bring you stories from missing and murdered
to survivors and women who empower you.
And of course, some mom talk sprinkled in.
Check us out wherever you get your podcasts at Like Mother, Like Murder.
And give us a follow on social media so that we can say hi.
Okay, love you, bye.
Okay, love you, bye.
All right, Jeremiah. So, my little sweet girly, I need to know how you're feeling about this.
I feel really good. Like, I think this really sets the mood, the vibe, a chit chat about crime over wine.
Right.
So, I like that.
Oh, what a good name.
So, I feel really good. Like, it tastes really good. But like I said earlier, just be careful, like, drinking it. I'm not saying it's dangerous. It's just it's so good, you forget it's wine.
Yeah, it honestly really is. So it's very light flavored, right? Mm-hmm. And so like when you think of like really sweet wines, I feel like it's really like feel really rich flavors in there. Like this, it just like floats right across the tongue.
Yeah.
And like when you talk about like chit chat wine, like I always feel that way with Sauvignon Blancs because I could just like it's a social wine.
It definitely is. It's really good. It's really good. Mm-hmm. Not just saying that. I wouldn't lie to the people.
Well, if you are looking for like your this episode is going to come out in like mid to late September. So if you are looking for your like mid-September barbecue wines, pick up some Pavette Sauvignon Blanc because the people are the conversation is going to be flowing just as much as the wine. So
yes. Facts.
Yes. Well, let's get to the next part of the story because I know you got a lot to say here, Jeremiah. So let's get to that, shall we? So when police go back to the hotel staff to ask for the video, they show it to officers. And as they scrub through the events of that night, they see the girls heading into the hotel through that side entrance, and they track them all the way to the hotel room on the 9th floor. And then right on cue, as Kenneka's friends had told them, they leave the room around 3 a.m. The friends walk down to the hotel lobby around 3:20, and then the friends leave Kenneka alone in the lobby, and police are able to then track Kenneka's every move beyond that. Jeremiah, here's the full video I'm going to show for you of Kenneka's movements that night, and I'm hoping you're going to be able to describe it for us.
Okay, so empty hallway. Elevator door opens. She comes. Oh, yeah. She's drunk, y'all. Not laughing. Oh, she's barely standing upright, like falling against the walls and everything. Yeah, I remember watching this. It's so sad. Yeah, she can barely stand upright. Like, she was really drunk. Very drunk. I mean, falling against the walls. Okay, so showing her coming down this hallway. And see, if her friends, the fact they just left her in this condition, it's even more troublesome here.
Yeah.
Like, she's leaning against the wall to walk.
Yeah.
It's that bad. And I just remember, like, watching back in college, like, just wondering, like, why would they leave her alone like that? Someone didn't stay behind and make sure she was straight. So let me see. So we're in another empty hallway. Yeah, she's still walking.
And like I see her like even like pulling up her pants a little bit too. Like I think like point being is like she's like not in any sort of mindset, right, to like be able to be left alone.
And I just saw her face a little bit. Like she's out of it completely.
Right. Yeah, and she's like doing that thing like I feel like what drunk people do where she's like her head is even too heavy to like, keep up. So, okay, so now we're in the kitchen.
Okay, so again, we're seeing this all play out right now on Liam's podcast, within seconds. But this was days. Mm-hmm. So it took them time to release all of this to the public. And this is where it was disappointing for everybody.
Yeah, and to be clear, like days to release the video. Because right now we're at like about a day in the investigation from a police officer perspective. So
before we saw this, it was days had gone by.
Yeah. So now we're just like following her throughout the kitchen area. Again, like there's nothing going on in this kitchen. And so like it's just,
and it shows us about 3:30 in the morning,
right?
And what's crazy though, I mean, she went from the lobby here and no one, I mean, it's early in the morning, so nobody would have been up and at him anyway.
Right, exactly. So now it's a different hallway, again, still, like, not able to function. Whoa, she, like, runs right into, like, this, to this, like, guardrail on the stairs. Looks like she's trying to get back into maybe, like, an elevator or something.
Maybe she was trying to make her way back to the lobby and just...
I mean, the only thing that, like, makes sense to me of, like, where she could even be going is, like, maybe trying to, like, get back to the room, like, find her way back to the room, and she just got lost in the hotel because she's not familiar with this hotel. So
no, not at all.
Or, like, maybe trying to get out to, like, find where her car is. I don't know.
Or her friends.
Yeah, right.
And then her friends would have had no idea she was even here.
Mm-hmm. She just walked into, like, a room, right? Still not coming out of the... Okay, so she just came out of the room. She's just lost.
Yeah. All I can say, Liam, it's just the fact that, like, we were watching, me and my friends watching this, waiting for someone to come out of the shadows.
Walks out of frame, and so now we're back into the kitchen. And, like, this is, like, again, like, there's, like, when we say nothing, like, there's not even, like, it doesn't look like anyone's cooked in this kitchen for months, right? So...
Yeah. You know those old country films? The tumbleweeds are...
Yeah, right.
Rolling across the ground.
Okay. So then she walks off frame out of the kitchen, and that is the last that we see of Kenneka Jenkins for now. For now. Thoughts?
I'm going back to when they finally released this, and it just, for all of you who have not, really known this story, and going back to in that moment when it was all playing out, we're seeing police hold press conferences, the mom, worried about what happened to her. You're seeing, she's just roaming around this hotel by herself. This is when we can see clearly how intoxicated she was. You know, everyone was saying it, but we could see it. We're kind of getting a visual representation of just how drunk she was, and she was left alone. So this is when everyone's pointing the fingers back at her friends, like, how could you leave her by herself? What were y'all thinking? So that's kind of what we were thinking in those moments because I think they released videos in parts. So when we saw this, it was like, what were the friends thinking? Oh my gosh, she was really drunk. Someone drugged her. All these conspiracies just started floating around. So.
Yeah. Well, and let's keep in mind too. So she presumably, right, drove the friends to the hotel room, right, at 1 a.m. Like, God knows what happens between 11 and 1. I don't think that, like, that part of the story is still really unclear at this point. But at between 1 a.m. and 3:20, she gets this drunk or this intoxicated off of something, right? And so, like, my brain goes, like, there's no way that this is just alcohol, right? There's something else going on here that is not being, broadcast, because there's unless you drank like an entire, like, half a bottle, like half a freaking handle of vodka, like, straight, like, off of this, like how do you get this drunk in such a short period of time? Like, there's something weird going on here. That's what I see when I see that.
Yeah.
And again, we're gonna link to that full video on our website and in our show notes. So if you want to go see that, you'll see exactly, like, again, play-by-play, or Jeremiah and my play-by-play of what exactly this security camera video is like. So go check that out so you can get clued into this full thing. Again, on our website, in our show notes, they're both there. Or they're in both of those, whatever. So here's what police, though, see in this video. Kenneka sees her stumbling down the hallway around 3:30 in the morning. She's running into walls, almost falls down a couple of times. Again, clearly heavily intoxicated and under the influence of some kind of substance, whether it just be alcohol or something else. Clearly, she consumed far more than just, again, 1 cup of alcohol, whatever that is. Kenneka gets onto elevators and goes to a lower level to walk upstairs and then down a few more hallways before going into into the men's bathroom at one point. Finally, as we both just saw, Kenneka finds herself in a kitchen that was under renovation for a restaurant that was moving into the hotel. And when they ask hotel staff about what was back in the direction of where Kenneka was walking, they say that there's a fridge back there that is on but not currently in use, actively anyways. The hotel staff says it's being used to store food while the restaurant was under renovation. And so that explains, I think, Jeremiah, a little bit about why like everything was just totally empty. Didn't really look like, I would say, a renovation. It didn't really look like that. Like it just looked like it just wasn't in use.
But again, so going back to the police's first encounter with the hotel staff, it's just, why were they being so fishy handing this over? Yeah.
Well, and again, I keep going back to the fact of like they have a certain level of, responsibility to protect privacy and all that jazz. And two, like, I just have to imagine like this is overnight staff, right? And so like I would guess that like
they wouldn't know that.
Yeah, like your manager, like the manager.
Day siders.
Yeah, right. Like your manager that's like, knows what the law is and knows what, what you can and can't release to the police, like probably isn't there. Right, it's probably whoever like they could find to like shove onto the desk at like 3:00 in the morning, right? And like they're just there to like basically like be like a living body, right? But I mean, point taken though, Jemiah, about the secrecy, and it just feels like if you really wanted to, you could just like release everything if you really wanted to.
In the I'm thinking about the climate that all of this was happening when it was happening in real time. It was just a scary moment, and it was like, why not help and just clarify some of these details? I mean, everybody was tooth and nail wanting to know what happened to Kenneka Jenkins.
Right.
So,
well, this was the last place that police see Kenneka on camera. Like we said, she never comes back into frame. So this is like a great place to center their search, right? So they go down to the kitchen, walk back toward the fridge, open it up, and see nothing. Just an empty fridge. But through the fridge is a freezer, and you actually have to walk into the fridge to get into that freezer. And when they open the door, there it is, exactly what they're looking for. It's Kenneka, dead on the ground of this freezer, lying on her side, face down with one of her shoes off. And she is frozen solid, according to police.
Guys, also, I don't know if you want me to say this, Liam, but I saw the pictures.
Yeah.
Of her inside there.
I'm glad you brought that up, because I was going to at some point, like, there are, like, so the police, like, broadcast her, like, crime scene photos of, like, her dead. Like, you can go see.
Because we were doubting it.
Yeah.
We just, y'all, when I tell you the amount of days we were watching this case play out, people were like, there's no way she just walked in a fridge. Like, they had to shut down. I'm not going to say I was part of the conspiracies that were floating online, but like, I don't know if y'all remember what I said earlier. Somebody in the shadows was going to come up. Right. Somebody was following her. We just could not believe this girl
just walked into a freezer.
No. So they had to silence us because it was like, and I remember when I finally saw it, I said, okay.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and good point, and really good point. And like, I don't know who was like pressuring this to like put out these like extremely graphic photos. Like,
very
again,
graphic.
Brace yourself. We are not going to link to this in our website because I don't want that.
Please don't let your personal fascination make you want to.
Oh yeah, no. Please. No, but a lot of
I was just crazy.
But a lot of news outlets did publish these photos. And like, I don't know. Like, here's where my brain goes, and like Jeremiah. Like, like for those of you who don't know, like Jeremiah is like a very strong Black woman. I want to hear your thoughts on this. Period. I want to hear your thoughts on this because I like where my brain went the first time I saw these photos is I just can't imagine if she was a white girl that they would be okay with just putting her dead body out for the world to see that way. But at the same token of kind of what you're just talking about the people who were pushing to see those photos potentially.
Yeah. We just could not believe what police were saying because at this point in time, going back to when all of this was playing out, it was a huge mystery. It was like, no way this girl just walked in the freezer. Y'all, what a cover-up.
Right.
What a cover-up.
Right.
And I think that was a way for them to kind of be like, guys, like, we're not lying. So here. Do I think they would not have done that if it was someone of a Caucasian? I don't know. I don't know. I just remember it wasn't enough for the people. When
Right.
the story came out and the press conferences were had, it was not enough. And we needed more
Yeah.
to really believe the narrative that was being pushed out of the events that transpired that
Yeah.
night. Because
Yeah.
everyone was still circulating around her friends and, you know, the hotel staff being fishy.
Sure.
And it was just a lot going on
Yeah.
back
And
then.
I have to imagine that in that type of situation too, that like the fear of like, you know, if we don't like put it, like nip this in the bud right now, like it could get out of hand, right? Like, and like, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like someone could
Very
get hurt,
much.
you know?
Very much so. I mean, I can't remember what other incidents were happening at this time, but this was huge. I mean, this was the biggest mystery I felt like in my college years, because it was a young girl around my age doing the same thing I was and just disappeared.
Yeah.
And no one knew.
And you know what, too? Like, it reminds me, like, just in terms of modern day stuff, like the Shanquilla Robinson case.
Yes.
Same vibes.
Yes.
Same vibes,
Yes.
right?
We were questioning the friends,
Yeah.
everybody in that hotel room was under the scope. People were finding their freaking like social medias to be like, you know what you did. Like, I was not involved in that. I was just watching it all play out. I was just watching. Like, it was like I would wake up, go to class, come back and see what was going on with this case.
Yeah.
That was how serious it was. For
Yeah.
me.
Put all this into perspective, I suppose. I think that, you know, like they needed to close that chapter, right? And so
Yes.
like the only way that they were going to be able to close the chapter is be like, nope, like she was frozen, like she froze. So I could see that.
They could have blurred
Yeah.
some of the stuff in there, because I mean that's the last. I mean, just to think for her mother to see her like that. I don't think they made it about the people instead of the love.
Well, but I
ones,
also,
feel like.
but in those type of situations though, like the family members often see the you know, crime scene photos, the autopsy pics. Anyways,
That's a good point.
So
That's
that's just like usually one of the places that they go. So and I think even legally too, I think that they have to like find someone within like a certain like level of kin to be able to like to say definitively that this is the girl, right? Like that is one of the ways that you can identify somebody. So.
Well, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
but
this is all just like my like, you know, like my crime brain going, right? Like so, but so anyways, I think I don't know. I mean, but to that point though too, like to have like as a family member to know that like everyone is seeing it, to know that like it's on the front page of the paper, like it's in like the nightly news, that kind of stuff, like that is a little re-traumatizing for sure.
That's a lot.
Yeah. Well, you know, the hotel staff say that when police found Kenneka, the freezer was just reading 31 degrees Fahrenheit, but it could drop to as low as just 8 degrees Fahrenheit. The security cameras don't actually capture Kenneka walking into the fridge, but they also don't show anyone else walking toward the fridge that night either. So for that reason, police say that they do not suspect any foul play in Kenneka's death. They are operating under the assumption that Kenneka's death was simply just a tragic accident.
A sad, tragic accident.
Right.
A sad one, because again, even them saying this, it wasn't enough.
Yeah.
It was not enough.
Right. No, not at all. Yeah. And, you know, but to that point though, too, like going back to like the hotel staff of like if they had like potentially, we don't know for sure, but if they had, you know, just handed the footage over to the mom, like when she asked for it, and, you know, we could have pieced together that that's where Kenneka went like so long ago, right?
Oh,
right
my
off the
gosh,
bat.
I didn't even think about that. Yeah.
So, well, anyways, we all know I guess everyone knows where I'm going with that. So I don't feel the need to say that, but I mean, so I don't know, like, I hate to even say it because like they didn't know what was happening, but
they didn't.
So I don't know.
I mean, shoot, to be like, this girl is missing, let's go check the fridge.
Yeah.
That's not the first place I'm thinking.
But if they checked the cameras, right, and saw that she walked into the fridge.
Valid point,
so,
Liam. I'm right there with you.
I don't know. Like, who knows? Yeah. But Kenneka's mom is not buying that story. You know, the story that she just wandered in there. Something still just is not sitting right here. After all, at this point, she still hadn't even seen the video for herself either. Plus, as far as she was concerned, Kenneka was this well-behaved, responsible teenager, and she knew how sick her mother was. So why would she be out acting this way and putting herself into a position to accidentally hurt herself? It just did not make any sense to her. So eventually police do show the video to Teresa herself, and she's really worried about her daughter's behavior. She looks heavily intoxicated, and again, that just isn't like her at all. So at this point, Teresa is feeling really suspicious of Kenneka's friend's story. As she processes her grief, she holds a tearful and emotional press conference where she says that she believes that her daughter was murdered in the kitchen that night. She believes that whoever did this lured Kenneka back to the back of the kitchen somehow, killed her, and stashed her body in the freezer to dispose of her body.
All I gotta say is I simply forgot this woman has been sick. I just feel for her. I feel for the mom. I feel for the mom at this point. Like, it's just awful.
Yeah.
But it's like, at this point, that narrative that was being pushed, it was like, I don't know the timeline. The security cameras have already been released. So at that point, it's like everyone saw this girl clearly walk back there. But there's like, we still didn't see her walk into the fridge. So there is that, like, that big question mark, like.
Right. Well, and to, like, again, like, I could see, like, super skeptical mind at this point being like, well, who else is back there? You know, like, I want to see her walk back there and I want to see her die. Otherwise, I'm not going to believe it. You know, like, I mean, I could see how that's in some people's minds, you know? So, I mean, it just feels so, like, ridiculous, right? I mean, that feels like a weird way to say that, but, like, it feels like such a, like, an absurd way to go that, like, it's like I need to see this to believe it. Otherwise, I really am not sure that somebody didn't kill this girl in the back, you know?
And her mom is clinging to any hope of faith.
Well, and that's a hard thing for a mom to digest, right? Like, let's talk about that for a second, too. Like, how, like, you, like, in a mom's mind, like, you need to justify this far beyond, like, my kid did this to themselves by accident. Like, there needs to be something far more sinister going on here. Like, how are you supposed to digest that whole situation?
Yeah. And death, like, okay, not just, okay, she's drunk, she was partying, she snuck out, but death is so final.
Yeah.
There's no comeback from death.
Yeah.
So I get it. That's for your daughter to make a big, you know, sneak out and do all this stuff she normally doesn't do, and to make such a definitive move, a final move that there's no comeback. You want to cross your T's and dot your I's.
Right. And there's, like, probably a certain level of guilt too, right? Because again, like, I think of my mom in that situation, like, there ain't no way my mom is buying that we're going out to a movie and going bowling at 11 o'clock at night on a Friday. You know what I mean? And so like, but I could see, like, that kind, like, from what I know about Teresa, her hearing that and being like, okay, you know, if, like, and knowing that, like, there ain't no way this girl's going out to go bowling, like, for the love of God. And so, you know, knowing that she's probably going out with some friends, probably going to go make some bad decisions, you know, but, like, you know what? She's a good girl. Go let her do it. Let her have some fun.
Let her hair down. She's been by me.
Yeah. So there's probably a little bit of guilt there. So I don't know. I guess I could see where it's just like there needs to be another answer here other than my precious daughter just wandered into the freezer and froze to death, quite literally.
Yeah.
So, you know, now a few things, though, I do have to say about this freezer. For starters, like I said, the freezer was connected to the back of the fridge, so you had to walk through the fridge to get to it. The fridge and the freezer both had external handles that had to be pulled in order to open. But the freezer was also equipped with an inside circular release mechanism, too. So the first time I read that, I was like, wait, hold on, what? So let me explain how I ended up piecing all this together in my head if you're in the same boat as I was. So I kind of picture, like, the outside like a car handle, right? Like, almost like you have to open that door to get in, you know, to get that open, you know, easy enough, right? Like, again, if anyone's worked in service before, you know, you probably know exactly what I'm talking about. And so the inside may not be equipped with the same thing, you know, not like a regular door handle. Instead, maybe this kind of like quick release knob, which may be confusing to a person who is heavily intoxicated. You know, like, I can totally see how you're just like trying to figure out like how do I get this door open? And then it's just, you know, before you know it, it's just too late.
And those doors are hella heavy.
Oh yeah.
I worked at Cold Stone Creamery
too. Yeah.
I worked at a hotel. Those doors are heavy. So, I mean, we just saw the the security footage, this girl could barely stand up.
Right.
She could barely hold
She's
her head
open
up.
that door.
She was leaning on the walls. Her strength was kaput.
Yeah.
It was not there.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, no, good point about that for sure. But, and then also too, like, you know, like I could see where it's like if somebody's not used to those kind of doors, like I know the doors, like I know what you're talking about here.
Yeah.
But like I could see how it's like, wait, there's no door handle to get this thing back open. Like I'm confused. And then like you can't figure it out. Like you just can't. And it's 8 degrees.
And sometimes you have to literally give that door a shove to open it back up. And I remember I worked at Cold Stone Creamery, so I used to use one of those crates to prop it open because I'm claustrophobic, and it made me nervous to let the door shut behind me.
No, I feel that.
So,
well, and it gets like cold, like super cold in there, like super quick.
Cold.
Yeah, I used to work at Barnes and Noble, the cafe, and I remember like because we didn't have it like this, but we had like what it's described here, but we had a freezer and a fridge, and those doors I had to put like my entire body weight, right, to be able to get that door back open. And so like I don't know, like she was clearly confused, like clearly went into the wrong door, right? I think that's like totally fair to say here. And so I could see how, again, like we were talking about, like you just don't have that strength to get that door back open. I mean, or the other thought here is too, right? Like you go in the freezer, the cold like totally catches you off guard. And you pass out, right? I mean, that's kind of that was where my other thought. And again, I don't even want to think about how this like girl spent her final moments, but like it's like that's where my other thought goes of like you just like she's under so much influence of all different kind of stuff. She just passes out, and that's it, right? Despite Teresa's suspicions, Kenneka's autopsy doesn't do much to confirm what her mother is fearing about her daughter's death. The initial results of Kenneka's autopsy are inconclusive, but they do find some contusions in her stomach, which is evidence of hypothermia, and later reports say conclusively that that is how the medical examiner believes that she died. Now, Kenneka doesn't have a lot of wounds on her, and because of that, investigators say that there didn't appear to be any kind of struggle when Kenneka died, including any indication that there was a sexual assault. Kenneka's brain is swollen, and as the medical examiner notes, which could have been a result of her hypothermia, logically speaking. She does have some scratches and wounds on the foot and ankle that was exposed from her shoe not being on, and she has a purple contusion on her right leg, which, according to the National Institute of Health, is a common thing to see in fatal hypothermia cases.
So, I don't know about you, but this just gives me some relief a little bit, at least with the sexual assault, because remember her biggest thing was her, she was concerned about the older guys in the party. So knowing that was thrown out makes me feel good, but it's still unfortunate.
No, I agree. So it's funny because when I got to this point, when I was reading about the autopsy, that was actually the part where I was like, wait, what? Like, hold on. Like, I have a lot more questions because like, I have so many questions about these like cuts on her ankle. Like sure, like she, was trying to get out so badly that like she like, cut her foot somehow. But I just don't know. Like I like that to like when I like listen, I'm fully on board of like this was like a really bad accident, like 100%. But I do like when I do have questions about these cuts, right? Like I just want to know. Like when I got to this point, I was like, wait a minute, like hold on, like how did this happen? Where did these cuts come from? Like how fresh are these cuts? Like I never got those answers at all.
And now that you say that, I think about how the shoe came off in the first place. But I do think about seeing that security footage. Listeners, when you finally come across it, her shoes and stuff were loose. Like, and she was...
Oh, and she didn't have socks on.
So like, it might have just slipped off, like, honestly.
Right, yeah. It's possible, right? And like again, like she's super like, not with it at all at this point, right? And so like maybe it was just like her trying to like kick it open, right? And like, shoe came off and like didn't even realize it like when it was like already like getting to that point of like, this is kind of a bad sitch, so I don't know. Kenneka's toxicology report, though, is where things get real interesting here, Jemiah. The medical examiner says Kenneka had a blood alcohol content of 0.112, 1.5 times the legal limit of impairment. And, like, definitely more than, what someone would have after just 1 cup of alcohol. Kenneka also had a drug called pyramate in her system, which is a prescription drug used to treat epilepsy or to prevent migraines. The drug is also prescribed to patients to help them lose weight and control muscle spasms. Taking it combined with excessive alcohol use can exacerbate the effects of alcohol like any drug and cause you to fall asleep and to have feelings of confusion. Now, when Teresa hears this, she is extra confused and extra concerned because Kenneka did not have a prescription for this drug. And as far as she was aware, she didn't have a prescription for any drug at all.
Okay, so a couple of thoughts here. So we knew starting the story off, her mom was sick because she had gotten it from her mother.
Yeah, but like, why would she be taking that? And I feel like she would have said that, right? Like, this is mine.
And see, that's not like, okay, y'all, I'm not trying to say anything about my past, but that's not like something you take to be like, let's get lit tonight. Like,
yeah, I agree. Yeah. But also I think of like teenage girl too. Like, I thought when I heard the weight loss, right? Like teenage girls, like certainly, would be doing that, that kind of thing. I could see that happening where it's like, taking this without mom knowing, like if she thinks that it's going to like help her drop a pound or two, unfortunately, right? I mean, that's the reality,
that's just
right?
Strange. Unless, maybe it was something handed to her. Cause I mean, one of the symptoms it treats is migraine. So I don't know why that would be in her system, but let's just get to the alcohol blood level, blood alcohol content. That's crazy. That's insane. It's normally what, 0.08?
0.08 is when you like can't drive anymore. So this is like almost 1.5 times that.
That's insanity.
Yeah, no, it is. Yeah, and again, like way beyond what like the friends say she had, which like again, she's not like, they're not like monitoring her alcohol use in any way. Like it's like, so like I could see how that could just, what, like, okay, whatever. Like they were drunk. I'm not like, putting more on them than needed. Like we get what's happening here. But point being is like, there is heavy alcohol use here, there's like, she's drinking a lot, like if she had, more before this party and then only had 1 cup at this actual party, like she's drinking more than she should have been drinking. So I don't know. And again, like going back to this drug, right? Like, cause where my brain goes of like maybe something was slipped into her drink at some point, because she doesn't really seem like the type of girl to like mix drugs and alcohol, like based on what we know from her. But I could see like a world maybe where she just like was taking it and didn't know that she should be, shouldn't be drinking on it at the same time.
Yeah.
So yeah, well, the medical examiner ends up ruling Kenneka's death an accident caused by hypothermia, with alcohol and drug use being significantly contributing factors. Investigators later note that no, quote, date rape drugs were discovered in her system either. But even after all of this evidence pointing in the contrary, Teresa is still not convinced. She still thinks that foul play was possibly and maybe even likely involved in Kenneka's death. And as far as she's concerned, if police aren't going to give her some good results out of this, she is going to get some for herself. She files a $50 million lawsuit against the hotel in 2018, claiming the hotel was negligent for not properly securing the freezer area, not allowing her to view security camera video right away, which delayed a specific search and possibly could have saved her daughter's life, and for the hotel not doing enough to stop the party because they knew it was happening. Teresa alleges that the hotel was only trying to protect itself and its reputation, since they knew the party was happening when they got noise complaints about it and pieced together at some point that the room was purchased using a stolen credit card. I never saw anything beyond that, though, to detail how the lawsuit worked out for Teresa, but multiple outlets did report that the hotel offered to pay for Kenneka's funeral, but I never saw if Teresa actually ended up accepting that offer.
I wouldn't. But the hotel, the steps that they failed to take could have really saved her life. And I'm glad that she was able to, I know that doesn't like fully heal her heart, but I'm glad that she was able to take action against them. They're the ones at the end of the day I could see being most responsible for all of this. So,
well, yeah, I mean, and again, like I see it from their perspective of like, we have, you know, this responsibility, but at the same time, like this girl's life is at stake. And I'm sure, you know, again, if they knew that she was literally freezing to death in their freezer,
I think,
they probably would have, they would have stepped up, right? And so I would hope so anyways. I mean, maybe not, but, you know, I would hope that they would have, you know, taken action at that point. But I don't know. Again, I just wish that like because Teresa was there within what, 2 hours of all this happening, and like maybe this could have ended up differently if they just like showed her the video, like looked through the last 2-3 hours of the video.
But the employees wouldn't even probably have access to cameras now thinking about it.
No, you're right about that.
And definitely those there at like 3 a.m. in the morning, in the wee hours of the morning, working the third shift. They're not.
Right.
Yeah. So I just remember at this point in time, those who were watching in national news, it still felt like there was more to this story.
Yeah.
But at some, you know, like every story has an ending. It kind of felt like, okay, while we still feel uneasy, we have answers. We have some facts. We can piece it together.
Yeah, I feel like, you know, really similarly. Like I feel like I'm like, really, like that's it. Like that's the final thing. But at least there's something, right? Like at least we like have some sort of logical, you know, within the realm of logic, you know, answer to, you know, to what happened to this poor girl. But I guess the, like, where I get stuck of like if she had, like, you know, made her way onto the roof and fallen off of the roof, that is like a logical, you know, way to go, right?
Yeah.
But like it just feels so incredible to me that like she just wandered into the freezer and just couldn't get out and froze to death, and that was it. So I think that's like the insane way that she ended up going, I think is just what, you know, is just what makes this story so unbelievable.
Yeah.
Fair?
Yeah, no, fair. I mean, like I said, days had gone by. It took us a while. I think we knew, okay, she was dead, but to see how she got there, it just left us all uneasy. So the fridge part was just like you said, it's the part that's just, how could this happen? And it was just insane to watch play out.
Yeah, it is. Well, you know, of course, you know, the online sleuths had an absolute field day with this story, right? There are a few theories about what may have happened to Kenneka. The first being what police landed on, that Kenneka got drunk, confused, and wandered into the freezer and couldn't get out. She likely struggled to open the door and eventually just froze to death.
And that's the story we were all having a hard time with. Okay.
Right.
That small clip of video, like we saw her wander there, but we don't have the clip of her opening it up. And So
yeah, and I guess it's, and like, not that you would have a camera there, right?
No,
but
you
like,
wouldn't.
I guess it's just a shame that we don't have a camera there, because if we did, like,
it would really
end of story.
Right.
You know, the second theory though involves some sort of foul play, and again, I have to say that there is zero evidence of this. Supporters of this theory, though, point to the Facebook Live video as possible evidence of Kenneka calling out for help, but again, that was proven not to be Kenneka's voice. They say that someone may have lured Kenneka to that kitchen that night somehow. I really don't know how, actually, because, again, they were leaving the hotel. She didn't have her cell phone, and she was clearly very confused as to where she was going. But I guess I could see, like, if that's, you know, that was the final, you know, end point here. But sure, you know, but supporters say that she met this person and either they killed Kenneka, or maybe she even, like, possibly passed out, and the person thought Kenneka died right then and there and panicked and put her body in the freezer to buy them time.
Yeah, I see that. It's just with you all, when you see the video footage, it's just like we didn't see anyone else. No one else was trailing behind her. that wouldn't have worked.
Yeah. And right. And like, I almost think that like that is like the most logical theory, absent the fact that like there was nobody else in the video, of like, okay, like if somebody else was really involved, like there was some sort of, ill intent here. Like maybe the ill intent was either she was drugged, with that intention, or, she, passed out, with like around somebody, the person thought that they died and then they like stashed her. That feels like, again, if it wasn't just a situation where it was just somebody where she just like wandered into the freezer and froze to death, that feels like the other explanation here.
Yeah.
That would result in some sort of charges for me.
Yeah, I just still think about the video footage. It's just, I didn't see anyone trailing behind her. So
yeah, I mean, I guess my only thought there of like how is there nobody else in this video, of like, maybe they were like, maybe it was like that well thought out, right? That like they were there hiding for however long and like told her like, meet me down here. I don't know. Again, it's far-fetched, don't get me wrong, but like I guess I could see like if we're really like, fetching that far, right? Like I could see that we're like that feels like the logical explanation to how it's not just some sort of crazy accident. The last theory, though, again, I have to say there is no evidence of at all. Supporters of this theory accuse the hotel of having something to do with Kenneka's death somehow, or were at the very least involved in covering her death up. To support this theory, they point to the fact that the staff delayed handing over the security video, and also accuse them of editing it to not show another individual who may have been waiting for Kenneka in the kitchen. But again, like no evidence of this at all. And police said that they have 36 hours of video from the hotel from that weekend and have publicly released every single clip that they have that has Kenneka in it.
Yeah, there's a part of me that just wants to say I don't know the motive of the hotel, but the motive, if this were the case, if this were true, would be to protect their reputation. But sure. I don't see them going out of their way like that. Like
right. What could possibly be
what benefits them
worse? Yeah. What could be worse than that? Yeah. I don't know. I guess, but then my other thought goes to, okay, well, what's the motive for someone else to kill her?
Yeah.
Right? Like why? Like what's the point in that? Like, I don't know, unless we just don't know everything. I did read like there was some talk about like some of the people who were at and like possibly like supporting this party were gang affiliated. So maybe that had something to do with it, but even that was like very fleeting reference. Like, so, and I just can't imagine this girl was a member or even, an enemy of a gang in any way. So.
And I have to say, we're both storytellers. At the beginning of the story, it was very easy. Her friends were very easy to villainize here.
Right.
But I'm shocked that in all these theories, no one has mentioned the friends.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and there are like some theories about like the friends being involved in this in some way, shape, or form.
But they did the right thing. So they did they did the right thing, but her friends would have had no clue to check. I mean, they were on the 9th floor. I don't even think that was the top floor of the hotel. So they wouldn't even know where to begin their search if they were going to try to find her. They wouldn't have even known where to start.
Right. Well, and also too, like if these friends were involved, like I definitely think they were negligent in a big way, right? Yeah. But if these friends were involved, like directly in some way, shape, or form, like why would they go
right to
get the mom and
drunk and all? They said, "Let me call her mama."
Right.
Drunk.
Right. So I mean, if they were going to try to stash her in some way, shape, or form, like why wouldn't they just make up some story, make up some story and then go for it? So I don't know. So I think like they definitely give me the side eye. They definitely give me the bad friend vibe, but like they don't give me murderer.
Yeah. No.
So. Well, as for the investigation, though, that is pretty much where things stand with Kenneka Jenkins. Her death is still classified as a tragic accident, but the last I read from Teresa at all suggested that she still doesn't believe that fully. She still believes that her daughter was the
I can't say she's wrong. But, with all the facts that we have regarding this case, I just remember after we saw the video of her and the pictures of her, it was kind of like case closed,
Yeah.
It was that stamp of, okay, it's not what we thought. But for her mother, I can see why it's still hard to make peace with it.
Yeah, and as a mom, that's hard to wrap your brain around. Again, like what we were talking about before, and I do agree that that would be case closed for me of seeing the pictures and all that jazz. But what was really case closed for me was there's no other wounds on the body. How else would this have happened if it wasn't this way? And so and again, that's why the only thing that makes sense is she passes out, some idiot thinks that she's dead and puts her body in there. That's manslaughter at the very least, right? So I don't know. I feel like we could talk in circles about this all day long.
Yeah.
Big time.
But I have to ask, Liam, have you had a story on your podcast where there is an ending that's not still mysterious?
Well, so the closest thing I can think of is episode 2 of this podcast. It was the Mary Reeser case. That scientifically, again, go read this case, or listen to this case if you haven't yet. But it's scientifically satisfying, but logically and in every other part of my body.
No.
Feels so odd. And so basically I'll give the rundown there. But homegirl caught fire.
I remember
completely unprovoked. Yeah, and so it was literally just her body, they called it the wick effect. It was her fat, served as the candle, the candle wax in a fire, and she just funneled and burnt to a crisp, literally. And so that case, there's still a part of me that goes, Somebody out there possibly could have lit her on fire. Yeah, but the logical side of me, the scientific side of me says, okay, if that's really how homegirl went, then that's really how homegirl went. But I do have to say, in terms of unsatisfying, this feels very unsatisfactory to me because yes, the logical explanation here is she wandered into a freezer, but it just doesn't why what the big question to me, and maybe it's just you can't put an answer to it because there's no logical answer to this question. Why did she walk in there? Why did she feel the need to go in there? And again, maybe she was just too drunk to figure that out.
Yeah,
so
only Kenneka can answer that question.
Only Kenneka. You're right about that.
Yeah.
So I don't know, and maybe just to honor her and protect her family's sanity. Maybe we just have to land peace. On that's where we're at and just keep it there and button it up right at that. So
I really hope her friends I don't know, maybe come out and say something even after all these years. I don't know. There's just
there's a documentary.
Something is coming from this because this was a huge case. This really was, guys. As much as okay, she walked to the fridge. Days. I'm talking about. I'm going to class. I'm coming back from class. Okay, what's new? What have they learned? What are police saying? It was hair pulling,
I think at the very least with them, I hope that they learned a lesson of you have to keep an eye out for your friends better than this, right? You have to, because and this just this whole case just screams, children mixing with alcohol. Yeah, man. Well, we could talk about this all day, but I will just zip it up right there and say, Jeremiah, that is all that we have for you this week. So thank you so much for coming on. You were a blast to have on. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for having me. I hope you guys enjoy. Liam, congrats. You're doing awesome.
Well, thank you, Jeremiah. I appreciate you. Well, in the meantime, tell everyone where they can find you and your work online.
Okay, if you really want to know, my Instagram's I am Jeremiah. I know, boring, but there you can keep up with me. I'm all fitness. I love dressing nice. Tune in. And what else? Facebook, Jeremiah Beatty. So
well, there she is.
There you go.
Well, Thank you again so much for coming on, Jeremiah, and thank you all so much for listening. We are going to put all of our sources on our website so you can read everything for yourself and probably come up with a few theories too, and make sure you write those theories into us on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook and all of our social medias. And if you are just loving this podcast and just wondering how you can tell everyone and anyone about it, the best way to help others discover this podcast is by leaving us a 5-star rating and a review wherever you are listening right now. So make sure you follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And if you're wondering what we have in store for you next week, here's a quick sneak peek. Hello, everybody. It's Liam.
And I'm Clay Smith. Next week, I'm entering the crime vineyard, where we are going to talk about a chilling, unsolved case that rocked mid-Georgia almost 10 years ago.
And it is by far the most frustrating case I have ever heard of. We'll tell you all about it next Wine Wednesday on another episode of Crime Over Wine.
Proud member of the Podnuga Network.